Good day. This is the 65th episode of the Frankly Speaking Jamaica podcast. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. He's a young man just turning 20, ambitious, skilled with high school diploma and high certificate, and he has been encouraged to get a bank account. He has been on that path since November. He lives in South Trelawney and traveled to Brownstown Centre to start the account. He visited the NCB branch with TRN and birth certificate in hand. He couldn't start the account. He was told he needed a national picture ID, such as a passport or a driver's license or a voter ID. In fact, the bank staffer told him to go to the electoral office right there in the town, register, and he'd get a national ID with which to start. He went there, registered, and they told him he'd get the ID, but not before July 2023. Yes, July. Well, that was a bridge too far, so he said he might as well try for the passport. Remember, it's not working. This time, he had to go to Montego Bay. Now, the regularity and cost of public transport from where one lives in the rural areas often determines where one will do business. He's not working. The first time he went to the regional passport office in Montego Bay, he got there 15 minutes late after the 3:30 closure. He blames himself. The second time, he was told he had to get someone to fill out a declaration form saying they know him, and then they'll get the JP to sign. He did that. He was told that the person who was declaring for him also had to accompany him. So his cousin went with him to the passport office. That's the third time. But when he went with his cousin, they said, no. His mother or father, with whom he lives, had to come along to the office with him to verify that he was who he said he is. Now, at the top, I told you, this is not one of the many unschooled young men in Jamaica. He spoke with me about the attitude and failure of the people at the PICA office to give him, from the start, all the information that he would need to prevent disappointment and costs of several trips. If you live here in Jamaica, you know how it is in many of these places, the attitude they give you, and just some of the information. And then when you go back, but you also need, the works. It's worse if you are poor and have no recognizable name. Years ago, I wrote that Jamaica is a place that offers regular, severe provocation. It remains so. This young man has been going through severe provocation. He's still without his ID, still without a passport, and still has no bank account. Another type of Jamaican young men and issues we face. A few weeks ago, I discussed here on this podcast the impending closure of rafting on the White River near the resort town of Ocho. Just a passing cursory glance years ago at that locale told me it could become a spectacular success. I imagined clean sidewalk cafes, seafood from the nearby sea, nighttime rafting with music from the home of Bunununus, just a few meters away. Lights, magical. Over the years, though, ramshackle has been allowed to take over. There was a legitimate business, Calypso Rafting, run by former politician and businessman Bobby Marsh. But then, with some initiative, some enterprise you might even say, young men from the area got rafts onto the river without any licenses or anything. Their main market was first the one or two tourists looking for adventure outside the walls of the all-inclusives. The situation has ballooned over many moons. Many food and drink shops opened, providing a nice rustic environment for locals and tourists alike. The local part of the trade started to increase too. But all of it without order, without standards, without sanitation, with more hangers on. The river was filling up with rafts and with problems. The pockets of some raftsmen were bulging at US $40 to US $70 a pop. No insurance, no standards, no hygiene, no security. Frankly speaking, the authorities could not ignore it. And they started late last year to try to get some order. One of the leading thinking men in the area, Curtis, tried organizing the men to come together as an association to try to get licenses and to try to continue and contribute to the upkeep of sanitary conveniences, the basics that they had, to keep the place clean and to keep things going. But the eater food mentality kept pushing things towards the gutter. Last week, TPD could finally shut it down. Frankly speaking, the loss to dozens of people is great. Frankly speaking, it could not have been allowed to continue. It was not and should not have been allowed for how long it did. Here is the issue. Why is it that so often Jamaican energy and enterprise cannot be organized into decent, safe, collaborative effort, into business with order? I'll tell you about some of the situations like this that we face in Jamaica. And I'm going to point to downtown Kingston, the home of the KCMC, where just a few nights ago you saw on TVJ free-flowing sewage right there among the vendors. But we'll come back to that. Now to Desmond Richards.
All is not well on the country's industrial relations front, where workers are getting restive. Large numbers of public sector workers who have been paid are upset with their paychecks. Many teachers have not yet been paid, and the policemen are upset because junior constables have been paid more money than senior constables and corporals, and they are very upset about this. There are still outstanding issues which the nurses are preparing to take back to the negotiating table. All is not well over there either. Then there are major disagreement between the government and the trade unions over its decision to remove increments from the salaries of public sector workers. The unions contend that these increments were removed unilaterally, and it is a problem. In the private sector, workers in the bauxite industry are very restive, and in fact, they have served strike notice to go on strike tomorrow morning. Now this is serious, because over 600 workers at UC Russell are upset with the management and the working conditions. They say that working conditions have been drastically altered since UC Russell took over that section of the industry. Workers are now on fixed term contracts, working without medical insurance, no overtime pay, and most of the benefits which they enjoyed under the old management has been removed. And the UC management has come to the bargaining table offering 6%, and the unions are saying that the attitude of the management is take it or leave it. They believe that the workers should get more. The security guards are facing new challenges because the management are asking them to sign one-year fixed-term contracts.
That's Desmond Richards, journalist and founder of internet radio, Rebel Radio Jamaica. And now to Winnie Anderson Brown.
Hey, Jamaican people, I want all of you to listen to me good. I hear a whole lot of cuss in Garden House about Massa. Whether you must say sorry if you say Massa. You know who me talk. Me not fi call no name. But what me have to tell you no say. Whether it is Massa Clarke or Massa Mark, nobody get mixed up in the cuss. Especially if you're very near a cliff. Don't make them push you over the cliff. All of them are friend and company. You ever hear when one of them leave the house, how the others sing the praises? You remember when Siaga leaving? When you hear the opposition, they sound like songbirds singing the praises of this wonderful Siaga. And when Portia Simpson Miller leaving, and you hear the other side singing the praises of Portia, you think she was a good one for the other side. So no bet none of them fool you. Anytime you hear them a quarrel, you know what you do? You especially about this Massa business, whether it's Massa Mark or Massa Clarke. Any one of them are mistress this or mistress that, or even bro God. Make sure you either draw for bujo how Massa God wanna run, or like me, you draw for the good old gospel tune, Massa God, a God. Massa God, a God. God in the morning, God in the evening, Massa God, a God. No make nobody fool you, Massa God, a God.
That's Winnie Anderson Brown, educator and health facilitator. Thank you for joining us again for Frankly Speaking Jamaica podcast. This was episode 65. Please like, share, and subscribe. On behalf of Winnie Anderson Brown and Desmond Richards, I'm Franklin McKnight. Until then.